Hey, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to Hidden Rows. So today I want to go over the last tier list that I forgot to do. Well, actually, I didn't forget to do. I just kind of procrastinated a little bit. But now that I procrastinated so much, we're about to get season 6. And you already know, when the season starts, we're going to get a new balance pass, new DLC, new maps, things like that. So all these tier lists are going to be void once they change everything. So let's just go ahead and get these out the way in one whole video. So we're gonna do a super tier list video. We're gonna go over range type, defense type, heal type, and then substitutions. And then we'll look at the ninja tools. I don't think they actually have a made ninja tool tier list that's updated. So I'll just use whatever the one that they have on the tier maker website. But as you can see, we have the range type tier list completed already. I went ahead and did this before, not like how I did with the attack type where I just explained each jutsu. This is kind of just the overall look of the tier list. So I know there's a couple controversial things. So the way I ordered this is the worst is going to be towards the letters, and then the best is going to be towards the end right here towards the screws. So the worst jutsu for range types is the multiple striking shadow snakes. And I mean, it's kind of obvious why. Very low damage, very low hitbox, very slow. It's poison, so it's over time, so you don't even get like all of it at once, so people can just heal off or do other things, you know. And it just leaves you vulnerable. It's very bad. And then of course Chidori's right next to it, and it's crazy that Chidori is this bad. But the big problem with Chidori is that it doesn't do much. It doesn't do anything. It's a pure damage move, but it makes you to where you have to go in to deal the damage, whereas everything else, you know, you can attack from afar, which range types, that's what they like to do. Because I mean, the range types, they have very low health, so you want to stay as far away from the battle as possible. And so mainly Chidori is used as a movement tool, but as you can see up here, we have other like more viable movement tools like hiding in ash, angelic adamant, kamui bond. These things are way better for movement than Chidori, so I have this one here all the way at the bottom. As you can see, Salamander actually is now a C tier move. It just has really good damage with the poison. It's practically venom. And then yeah, it controls space very well, but it's purely used mainly in like base battle survival mode. You wouldn't see this in combat or flag really. And then obviously, as you can see, the freaking top 5, sticking to the top 5 is Angelic Advent. With all these new ninja tools coming out, Angelic Advent is just way good right now. Even before, it was pretty good with like keeping you safe and things like that, movement and just like, you know, pestering the enemy. But like, you can use it in pretty much all game modes if you build around it. And if you do build around it, like, you're gonna get a pretty good reward. Moonlit Pill, Flash Medicine, freaking Thunderous Needles. So many things benefit from Angelic Advent. So it's now right here at the top 5 spot. And then of course, Majestic is the best. Flame Lightning, and then Amaterasu is so devastating, controls space, and it counters freaking Sukuna Hikona, which is like hella annoying right now for what defenses, you know, run. Like, that move just shuts down practically everything that the range type can do. But you know, Amaterasu beats Sukuna Hikona. These two moves right here beat Sukuna Hikona. So yeah, this is my range type tier list. So let's move on to the defense type. So here we have defense type, and as you can see, I think the Toad is the worst move for defense types because it's 30 seconds. You just place a lot of other things in this slot to do what the Toad does. I mean, you can control space pretty much better with everything else. You know, the defense type's main objective is to defend bases, defend points, defend allies, and it's hard to do that when the Toad's so stationary. You know, if you're moving from place to place, you got to leave your Toad behind. It doesn't last long. It's the shortest, has the shortest time on the field than any other summoning. And then even though it is pretty accurate, more accurate than I would say like the Dragon's missiles, yeah, the damage is very low. The health is very low. Yeah, the Toad for me is the worst. And then of course Shark Bomb is next to it. It just has such a long cast time. If they maybe gave that armor, then it would be fine, you know. But yeah, and then Boruto Stream is next to that. Boruto Stream, like, you can do the infinite cancels or whatever, but it's just not worth the risk is not worth the reward with this one. Another notable thing is I have Body Blow as the second best defense type move. It's so underrated, and it's crazy because I saw a thread talking about, you know, Hazan Strike on Body Blow, and people were saying Body Blow is not that good. And I'm just like, nigga, what? Body Blow is absolutely crazy. It gives you defense boost. It breaks every single thing. Like, it breaks armor. It gets you out of combos. You, like, even if you're in a wood strangle, water prison, whatever, like, it'll cancel whatever people are trying to do, and it's for 12 seconds. And you combine this with, like, you know, maybe super type medicine where you're constantly getting this thing cooled down, you'll constantly have it, and it removes status ailments. So whatever they're trying to do to you, you just brush that off. So hella good. Of course, Sukuna Ikona's right next to it. I couldn't decide between which one was better, but when I was thinking about, okay, the most oppressive thing is attack types, and this thing counters attack types pretty well, but I mean, it's only like one hit and then you get Kamui Bomb, whereas you're stuck in this and then you can get this back, and then this thing is like 20 seconds, whereas this thing is 12. So I was like, okay, I think Body Blow edges it out just because you can get it more. But Sukuna Ikona counters so many things, freaking just removes ninja tools. So it's like a Sharingan on crack, you know, whereas people say, oh, counter Sharingan with kunai. This is like Sharingan that you can't counter with kunai. You just, everything gets absorbed. And then we have right here Mud Dragon, and why your Mud Dragon is like a top 5 freaking attack type move is because it just is so oppressive on base battle. Like, you can't remove it. Once it's on the floor, you can't do nothing about it. It's just gonna be there. And then of course you got your Flame Formation, which protects you against secret techniques. Super good competitive move. Nidojizo. Usano armor not that high because it could be the best move in the game if you don't have a counter, but if you do have a counter, it becomes trash. And then everything else is here. So yeah, this is my defense type tier list. Let me know how you guys think I placed everything. I'm not a defense main, so I'm kind of just like guessing it at some point, but I mean, I feel like I have a decent knowledge, you know, like Subterranean's super dominant in survival mode, but because it's not, you know, really useful in base battle because you can't get a base or reset a base with it anymore, or a flag, you know, I just, well, okay, let me just drop it down you know, a few pegs, and then yeah, this is kind of what it looks like. So again, let me know what you guys think about my defense type tier list. Of course, Azan Strike is the #1 defense move. So let's move on to the heal types. I was also confused with this one because I was like, okay, a lot of things are good on this list, but in survival mode, like how would it be in a team? Because these lists, I'm taking into account the 4 main game modes, which is flag, combat, base, and survival. So no barrier, no VR missions. So when I'm thinking about like all these moves and how good they are, I'm like, okay, that's good. You can do stuff with that, but I'm just like, oh, but you can do that as an individual, like just playing by yourself, like in survival mode. Like if you were actually in a team setting, like how good would these be, you know? And that's mainly where you're going to be playing heal type at, is those, you know, other 3 modes instead of survival. So I kind of, you know, switch my mindset. Okay, how well does these things help healers play the way they want to play? So mainly to stay alive, but also to keep your teammates alive. That's what you want to do as a heal type, is make sure everyone stays alive. But the best way you can assist in that is, you know, with the way I ordered these things. So I have Cellular Extraction as the best heal type move. You already know, like, you got to run this. Like, this is the most important move to run when you're inside a team setting. Like, anything else is secondary to this. Like, I know sometimes you guys want to be combat healers and stuff, and it's okay if someone else has Cellular Extraction, but if you don't have Cellular Extraction, then range types will kill the hell out of you with all the burn damages. So you got to have Extraction. You got to remove these debuffs. And then of course I have super light weighted boulder after that, because you can constantly cool down your team's ninjutsu, charge secret technique faster. Everyone gets a movement buff. It just increases survivability for the whole team, as well as help you to complete your objectives, whatever it may be, whether it's to capture a flag, you know, get some KOs in survival mode or in combat battle. Survival mode, not too much, you know, because it's 20 seconds just for yourself, but in the team setting, very good. And of course, heavy boulder, it creates super survivability for the heal type with the massive defense boost that you get. And then of course Yasabi got nerfed to the ground, but I mean, it's still good for surviving like secret techniques and things. This is the only completely like invulnerable move in the game, like base ninjutsu. Like everything else has some sort of counter. Yasabi doesn't have any counter. It's like it's practically like a Totsuka blade. It's like a secret technique level of like being able to avoid stuff. So it's still good. It's still good. And then I have the worst heal type jutsu as limbo clones. It's like 20 plus seconds for like for very little damage. It's an unblockable, so at least it goes through Susanoo armor. But I mean, the damage is very minimal. And then like you're basically sitting there like a sitting duck. You can block stuff like if you're sitting there, but it's not a lot of like not high priority things like if somebody's dashing through you with armor, they can still hit you, but like it'll block like fireballs and kunai and things like that. But yeah, if you then try to use the second activation, it doesn't really go where you want it to go. Like they aim like where you kind of place them in a straight line. It's a very trash move for 20 plus seconds. Like I could see it like being justified of how bad it is if it was like for like 15, 14 seconds, you know, something like a 1,000 Needles of Death, that sort of thing. But yeah, I feel like this move is like very bad. It's the worst. And then I have Byakugan right next to it. Byakugan, pretty much what it does for your teammates is it allows your teammates to see the enemy secret techniques. All the buffs happen for the heal type, but then like, okay, now you have all the buffs, like you can break their guard easier, or you can do more damage, but like people have so much better priority than you for a heal type. Like you would need another move to complement whatever move you're gonna do. So like say if you wanted to like hit somebody with like a nervous system rupture and you want to power it up with your Byakugan, but then to also like be able to like land this nervous system rupture best, you need something else. So it's just like it's a support move to like something that needs like another support move ish. I feel like Byakugan is pretty terrible. And then I have these other two in D tier. This hasn't gotten a hella good buff, you know, so I actually think this is like a really good move now. Not like really good, but like it's a decent move now. The problem is that when you're in a team setting, it just takes so long to like explode the enemy that, you know, your allies or you might get interrupted. So I mean, you could pitfall with this thing. It's like a pitfall machine, but I mean, other than that, it's still very risky, and the reward is like whatever. So yeah, this is my heal type tier list. Let me know what you guys think. You know, I have like tier type, like the heal types is very middle heavy, which is kind of like defense type, but like more on the lower end. Defense type is like middle heavy on the top end, and then like the top one is like okay, whatever. Whereas heal types, they're very like a step below that, just because they could do a lot of things as an individual. In a team setting, you got to run these top things to support the team. You know, you have heavy boulder or chakra scalpel to like, you know, make yourself dangerous, but then everything else is mainly to, well, and Yasuka beads make yourself dangerous, but everything else is like to protect the team, you know, and stuff like that. And then all this other stuff is like just minor support moves, things like that. And then of course the trash healing is going to be at the bottom, because like Green Ring Ground Hold, it's like, it's solid. Like I've moved it up from D tier because I used to think it was really bad. But I mean, since they add like the ninjutsu cool time and the ninjutsu resistance, like you can survive secret techniques if you're standing in this thing, as long as they're not one shots. Like if someone hits you with like a Flying Rising level 3, you'll survive that. You survive a Totsuka Blade, you survive a Keating with like hella health left, and then you'll just keep getting healed. And then of course Palm Sage Jutsu is now a very bad move, just because there's so much things that can catch you now. Like before it was like pretty good, you know, just because you could just run around and jump, and then it would be hard to catch a heal type. Swift Step on just a lot of these tracking moves, like yeah, this thing is, I mean, it's always good to have a heal, but yeah, that's why they're not details, because it's good to have a heal, and I would rather somebody have a heal than, you know, not. So I mean, they're not completely bad, but yeah, this is my heal type tier list. So let's go ahead and move on to the substitutions. So this is my substitution tier list. And as you can see, Time Space Hop is in its tiers of its own. It's just so dominant that it just controls the meta right now. Like you'd be like a fool or a competitive player that it's banned. So that's the only reason why you probably wouldn't run it, you know. Or maybe you just don't like, you know, to show that you're running cheese. So yeah, Time Space Hop, just the absolute top move in the game. It needs to be at least like 30-35 seconds. Like my biggest gripe with it is that this, once you get hit with something and you substitute and you're invulnerable and you're charging your jutsu, the substitution is charging still, even though the buffs are activated. Like my personal change would be like, don't have the substitution charging while the effects are activated. Like they're just like, that's how old Kamui Bond used to be, and they switched it to where Kamui Bond doesn't charge itself while it's active. It's the same thing with time space hop. Don't let it charge while the effects are active. That's like my biggest change. Now, of course, you could talk about, you know, the cool times and whatnot, but yeah, that's what I would change right now for time space hop. And then at the very bottom, you have regular substitution. Like you just the only, you know, grace about it is that it is 20 seconds, and you can lower that, you know, with dueling damage, you getting hit, different things like that. But like, it's not gonna really help you to survive unless you're an attack type. Like if you sub, like the people's lock-ons are still gonna be on you. It's still, they can still just like oppress you. It's a pretty bad. And then of course everything else is like bad as well. So Snake Clone I have as the worst because it does like similar damage to everything else, but over time. Like it's just, there's no reason to do that. Might as well just run Clay Clone and get all the damage at once than to have it come in over time. Ink Clone, the effects is pretty mid. Bird Clone effects are pretty bad. It's like attack and defense lowered, but like a very small degree, and the hitbox is like probably the smallest I would feel. Like I barely see anyone get hit with these. Like sometimes the birds just fly right through people. Stone Clone has pretty good damage, but like the effects of like being able to guard break is like very situational and dependent upon what the enemy does. Wood Clone has the best damage out of all of these, and it slows any enemy, so I mean that's all right. This one seals ninjutsu, so that's why I have it up in C tier, because these are just the better effects. So Clay Clone, just pure damage, more damaging than all of these. Lightning Clone has brief restriction damage, lowers attack power, good for surviving, and it breaks armor. And then of course the B tier, so I have Sand Clone, breaks armor, stuns enemy, good restriction damage. Crazy defense debuff from the Water Clone, so if you hit somebody, like your next move will just do like pretty much twice the damage. It's really good if it does land, but I mean the effects is why I put it up to B. Burial Breakthrough is good for attack types, maybe defense types, but everything else is like 40 seconds to like put you in harm's way for like range and heal type. It's not that good, so it's just pretty much carried by the attack type class. That's why I have it all the way up here, you know, because you'll get as much damage as a Shadow Clone Explosion, which is, and is pretty much more guaranteed damage, but also, mind you, it puts you in harm's way. So that's why I have it just here in B tier. And then Ice Clone is better than that because it has good restriction damage. It slows enemy substitution in ninjutsu, so they won't get it back faster, and they're stunned for a while, and it breaks armor. So I would say this is the best of the effect clones. In A, I have high speed movement. It's like it makes you faster than Swift Step if you didn't know. Like you don't get the attack tracking, but your movement and jumping is much faster. I have multi Shadow Clone after that. The reason being is that like there's so many things that remove substitution now, that if you are running this and you get hit with a Hazan strike, you're not getting your substitution back for a while because it is 40 seconds. Same thing that goes for like Imperial Wrath or whatever people are swapping. Like just whatever hits you and you don't get your substitution back, like that's why it's like kind of like a detriment, but at the same time it's really good if they don't have that. Like you can just constantly have subs, so pretty decent. Surprising you, I know this is not in S tier, but because this is like, if you just think if this is an attack type substitution tier list, move everything up, everything goes up one. But if you're taking into account defense, heal type, and range, then everything is right here. So this is not good for heal types, this is not good for range, because if you sub and you know now you don't have anything for 40 seconds and you'll probably get killed because you have such a long substitution. So that's why I have it only here, because attack types, you know, I put it this high because of attack types, but for every other type it's not worth running. And then regular Shadow Clone, it's really good for everybody because it's 25 seconds, it breaks lock on, you can get it back pretty quickly. So it's just a solid clone. Then I have the S tier clones. So the reason why I have emergency exit so high is because it removes status elements. So say if you get somebody and you're in bugs, the bugs is gone, the paper is gone. It counters secret techniques. You're like, if you have like a shotting gun and you get hit and you're in like say the hit and miss, then you know the hit and miss substitutions lock is gone. So it counters like freaking secret technique debuffs, which is crazy. And then of course the little healing is nothing special, but I mean it's still good, and it's 25 seconds, so you get it back pretty frequently. So I have it here in S tier. And then Swift Step, you already know it took attack types over the top, but it also buffed all of the non-Kusanagi range weapons so that you can actually hit them because they're so stubby. And it just, yeah, it made all of those viable. It's hella good. Yeah, I just have this at S, and then of course time space hop. So let me know what you guys think about this tier list right here. I have the substitution tier list. Of course, a lot of these things can change when the update comes, but for the most part, I think this will kind of be the same right here. Let me know if you guys would rather nerf the stuff at the top, like time space hop and all these things, or would you rather buff all of these regular clones? Like, let me know what you guys think. And then finally, we have this. We have the. Let me switch to presets. Now we have the Ninja Tool tier list. So I kind of went through this. This is not really my final thoughts. I was just placing stuff, so I actually didn't like really put much thought into it. All I know is that the broken ninja tool is the worst, and then the heel tag is the best, and then of course you have your crimson star, you have all your pills. Honestly, depending on what you're running, all these things can go up and go down. It's just very contingent on builds, you know. Like that's why I was like looking at the ninja tool tier list, and I was like, a lot of these things like they go with build. Like Rasengan tool can be a one shot on like range types and things like that, you know, but everyone else is like whatever's. And then a lot of these things wouldn't even run on heal type, and yet heal tag is just the undisputed best freaking ninja tool because it just keeps the teams, your entire team safe, you know. And then, you know, just look at this, like it's kind of hard to rank these because you're mainly considering like what they do on each class. Like I said, a lot of these stuff wouldn't work well on heal type because then you would get rid of heal tags. Whereas like a lot of these things would work super well on like say something like a utility type, like defense type, where they can just get away with using like cooling breeze or get away with using purple lightning bullet, a lot of these things, you know. So I mean, let me know what you guys think about like just the ninja tools and overall. I'll try to find a more updated version of these ninja tools, but I mean, you could just like pause the video, see where I have everything right now. Like I said, I didn't really put much thought into it. I was just placing things, so this isn't actually my opinion. I just know that like, because see, if this was like strictly range type, I think I would put Senbone up here with Crimson Star, as well as like maybe Siltech Fakes would be like super high, you know, up right there. And of course Moonlit Pill would be S tier, as well as like, I don't know, maybe the Flash Pill is also S tier for like attack and range types. So, you know, like that's the thing, is I wasn't really putting too much thought. I just want to show you guys that I made an effort a little bit to try and show you guys like some of the ninja tools. But yeah, I feel like the worst ninja tool is Wind Bullet because it's slow, it's, you know, it's whatever. But as it's also good too, but it's good mainly for attack types. Like everyone else, they can kind of get away with using it, but not really, especially not heal type. Same thing with Earth Bullet. Like you get good damage, but you got to set it up, and the setup most of the time isn't worth using it. So, you know, it's mainly a troll ninja tool in my opinion. But yeah, so these are the tier lists. I'm gonna go ahead and go through each one again. So we have the range type tier list, and this will look like, pause the video if you want to. Defense type tier list is here. This is kind of where I put everything. If you guys have any questions about my placements, I'll go ahead and talk to you guys in the comment section. That's what we're going to use the comment section for, is to have this discussion. And then of course this is the heal type tier list that I have. And then we have the substitution tier list. So let me know what you guys think, and then I'll do an update video once we get the update for Edo Minato. I'll talk about the DLC, I'll talk about all the balance changes, I'll talk about the system changes if there is anything. I'm guessing that we're gonna get the new map as well. I think all this stuff is probably gonna happen at the end of this week, so look forward to me making these videos Thursday. But other than that, I appreciate you guys for coming through. Thanks for checking out the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.